we're talking about something that's tough to talk about. How is your mess affecting your productivity? Now, this week, I'm talking about something that is very front of mind for me. So, when I moved to a new house, I had a ton of stuff that belonged here at the office. So, instead of putting it away when I brought it to the office, I just dumped it in a pile. Well, and we can all know what happens there. The pile multiplied. And if you've ever watched Friends, you know this is often referred to as a Monica's closet. And that is definitely what happened to me. Now, I think something to consider is how often does our mess really affect our productivity? If it's something that you can see all the time, which mine definitely was, you are walking by it, you are seeing it every day and thinking to yourself, oh, I got to take care of that. Oh, I got to put that away. I got to handle that. And so it's really taking up valuable real estate in our brains. Is it on your to-do list a million times and you just keep moving your mess over? All those things add up. And so it's really best to tackle your mess head on. So here's a couple tips that I used in order to tackle my Monica's closet. So what I started with was I purchased a ton of bins. Now, I know that there was different sections based on all the stuff that I had transferred into the office from my old home as well as a storage unit. So I knew there was going to be lots of categories. So I bought extra bins knowing that. And when you go to buy bins, buy more. Now, for me, I know what bins I use all the time. Now, here's kind of a pro tip that I've used is that I have the same bins everywhere. Not only in my home, at the office, I use the same types of bins over and over. Here's what makes that awesome is that the extras can be utilized in other places or of course, return to the store to get your money back. But I find a lot of times if I'm buying bins for a big project, such as this one, it's nice to have all different sizes on hand. Even if I'm just sorting things, it makes it so much easier to then transfer them to a bin rather than having to run to the store and get another bin. Now, while I think the Dollar Tree is great, they don't have the same bins all the time. So if you're doing different projects in different parts of the year, you might have access to different bins. So that's something to keep in mind. I like to use Target and the Container Store because their bin selection is pretty consistent. And so I'll always use the same bins, knowing that wherever I need them, whether it's home or at the office, I can always find them and I will use them wherever. First things first, when you're starting to tackle your mess, because you're probably going to be overwhelmed. That's why you've been walking by it this whole time, right? So when you've got your bins, you've got everything set out. I think first things first is to go through and just grab all the garbage, all the stuff that you know that you don't need. That could look like old Starbucks cups or Kleenex or papers that you know you're not going to use. I like to do a joint garbage recycle pickup. So if there's things that I know for sure that need to go in the garbage or need to go in the recycle, or because I'm at the office, I know I'm going to need to shred some stuff as well. I like to have separate bins for that. So that way I can just do one quick scan through everything and get the stuff that's obvious. You obviously know what's garbage. If you don't know what's garbage, that's okay. Put that to the side and leave it, but grab the stuff that you know for sure belongs in the garbage can, in the recycle bin, or in the shred bin. My next tip is to start with one thing. Because this job is probably going to be overwhelming to you, you don't want to think, oh my gosh, I've got to go through these 60 bins all at once. Nope. You open one thing, if that's a bin, container, or if it's just something that's laying on the floor, you pick up one thing at a time. That's it. You focus on that one object and where does it belong? Does it belong in a bin? Probably. I feel like having bins that stack is super helpful, but there's also some times you need a drawer unit. So that's where Target and the Container Store come in because I find that Target has really awesome Sterilite drawer containers. The Container Store has really awesome bins. Now, both of them stack, which I think is huge because I use the vertical storage. So if you are in the middle of a project and you know you've got a bunch of stuff you need to store, going vertical makes a huge difference. So back to choosing one item at a time. In the very beginning, you're not going to have any bins established. So what I do is I start each bin with a sticky note and say, okay, this is a technology bin. So all these random technology bits that I accumulate, which there are a lot because I love to buy technology gadgets, all go in one bin. So if there's tripods, chargers, anything associated with technology that I'm using on a daily basis goes into a bin. Now, if I'm not using it every day, maybe it was something that I got for review or a project that I was working on or a technology that I've upgraded, that goes into a different bin because that might be something that I can pass on to a friend who's just starting out their podcast or their YouTube channel. There's nothing wrong with the item. It was really good at the time. I've just upgraded, and that happens. Again, going through and picking up one item at a time makes a big difference. Now, don't forget to take breaks because that is super important. If you're overwhelmed and you have done quite a few things, that's awesome. Take a break, give yourself a reward, but don't take too long of a break because you've got to come back and finish this project. Now, that's being said too, that a lot of times these projects don't happen all in one day. It would be amazing if they did, but let's be realistic. Sometimes you're not going to have a huge window of time to make this project happen. So you do what you can do, and then you come back to it. By scheduling this project on your calendar and knowing that you've already started it and have a plan makes a huge difference and cuts down on your overwhelm because you kind of know what you're already doing. And when you don't have the fear of starting a project or that it's going to take forever, that can really help on getting back to that project. Now, once you've sorted everything into your bins, you're going to decide, does this make sense to keep it? If it does, great. We will either further categorize those bins by making them, let's say for technology, we're going to keep camera equipment together, but then we're going to put all of our extension cords or battery packs or things like that into a separate bin. We are further categorize those items so that way your bins aren't massive. You want to make sure that these bins are small enough that you can get in and out of them and that the categories make sense for you. So looking at your stuff overall will really help you with the categories because you'll realize all your planners should probably be in a section. But for me, I have planners that are ring bound, spiral bound, disc bound. So I go and I further separate those categories. So that way, when I'm looking for a disc bound planner, it makes it so much easier to locate because I just go to the disc bound planner drawer and there's everything I need. Now, once you've got everything categorized, do not forget to label your bins. This is one step that I think gets overlooked all the time. And this is what's going to make it easier for you to maintain the system. Because if everything has a home and you know where that home is, it's very easy to put those items back where they belong rather than just throwing them in a pile on the floor. Same thing too, if you've got stuff that's in cardboard boxes, you want to get all that stuff out of the cardboard because remember, you can't see those things and the cardboard oftentimes attracts bugs, especially if you're storing things in a garage or in a place that isn't frequented by a lot of people. A lot of times that cardboard is not good to have around. So make sure that you're binning everything, even if you think to yourself, this cardboard is containing these promo water bottles I have, it's still good to get that stuff into a plastic bin. So that way, not only can you see what's in it, but you can label it and protect it. You don't want something like that you've spent your hard-earned money to end up full of bugs or something ickier. So now that you've labeled everything, make sure that you're utilizing that vertical space like I mentioned earlier and stacking those bins on a shelving unit. And if you need more than one shelving unit, that's totally okay. I have shelving units in my office that are on wheels, which makes it super easy for me to move things around, especially because my office is a multi-purpose space. I'm using it for podcast recordings. I'm using it for video. I'm also using it to teach in as well as meet clients. So a lot of times I need things to move. And the best way to do that is with heavy duty wheels. So if you're choosing a storage unit option, maybe look at something that is more sturdier. If you're like me and you're looking for something that can move around, look at Metro shelving. It's solid metal shelving that is built to take the weight, as well as heavy duty wheels that allow me to roll these shelving units on carpet. It's amazing. The TV that I teach off of also is on wheels, makes it so much easier to maneuver it or position it where I need it to be. So that way, when I'm teaching, the focus is on the TV and not all the stuff around it. I hope these tips will help you to utilize that mess that really is most likely affecting your productivity. Once you get into the organization and get things organized, labeled, and everything has a home, you will have a feeling of the weight being lifted off your shoulders, as well as encouraging you and other members of your family to contain the stuff that's in our homes every single day.